Greetings, Commanders. Thank you so much for joining us on this very special reveal stream. As you may know, a lot of us are working at home from the moment due to the ever changing global situation. However, we have got this amazing pre recorded stream with two fantastic people that will bring you everything you need to know about the upcoming Fleet Carrier release. While this is a pre recorded stream, don't worry, the community team and our guests will be in the chat to answer any questions. We hope you enjoy and thanks for tuning in and watching.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to the Fleet Carrier Content Reveal. I'm Stephen Benedetti, one of the community managers here on Elite Dangerous, and it's my privilege to bring you the Fleet Carrier Deep Dive, where we're going to go through and look at what all of these amazing vessels will be bringing to the Elite Dangerous galaxy. But don't worry, I won't be doing this alone. I have two fantastic guests with me who will help me to provide all of this information. I have with me Luke Betterton and Dav Stott.
Hiya.
How are we, guys?
I'm super.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm fantastic. Really been excited about this. Really looking forward to it. Thank you guys so much for coming through. But first of all, for anybody who doesn't know, Dav, you've been on a couple of live streams.
Yep.
But would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hello, my name's Dav Stott. I work on the Elite Dangerous server team.
And we have Luke.
I'm Luke. I'm a designer on Elite Dangerous, and my current focus is fleet carriers.
Fleet carriers, and that's a really good segue into the next question. What have you guys been doing with fleet carriers for this time? What was your involvement been?
So there's quite a lot of moving parts to fleet carriers. So there's a lot of detail within the player interactions, lots of transactions, quite a lot of new server mechanisms behind the scenes that we'll come on to a little bit later on. And also the server team takes care of the live operations to make sure that you all get a good experience playing the game.
And I'm there to make it all stick together. So I guess design is kind of like the glue that holds all of the individual bits together, making all the server talk to all of the gameplay and all of that, and making sure all that comes together and we provide a really good experience that's exactly what we want to make.
Commander feels good.
Commander feels good.
Commander feels good. I like that. So I mean that's really important. So we've got two fantastic knowledge bases here to go through all of this because there is a lot to these fleet carriers. There's so much information. There's so much that can be done with them. These are the big kind of endgame ships that we really want to show off. So let's go through the really important facts first. The key questions that everybody will be asking is the question that has came all around a lot because it's been our response. How much is a fleet carrier? What is a lot? What is a lot of money?
A lot. It's going to be billions.
It's billions.
Billions.
It's specifically 5 billion credits.
5 billion credits, which
Yeah.
is just phenomenal. So this is obviously for a lot of gamers who have been asking for a long time and will have the funds available, or it gives people a challenge and a task to
Yeah.
kind of go towards.
Oh yeah, these are far more expensive than anything else you've ever bought in Elite Dangerous.
Yeah.
They're right at the tip top of.
Quite a lot more capable as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
huge.
So you get a lot for your buck, bang for your buck, kind of in
Yeah.
a sense. And not only that, they're individually owned.
Yep, absolutely. These are yours to command.
Yeah, we've done away with the association with squadrons that we originally wanted to have a go at, but yeah, we want to give these things to you individually as players. So that means multiple in your friends group. Even if you don't have a squadron, you can have a bunch of carriers that are working together, or you can have a sort of a whole fleet of fleet carriers for your squadron.
A whole fleet of fleet carriers. That's quite a mouthful, isn't it? It's an amazing idea having all of these fleet carriers for everybody, but also they can jump quite far, can't they? How far can fleet carriers jump?
So it's using the same technology that you've seen jumping the mega ships and the capital ships around the game today.
Yeah, that's 500 light years.
500 light years.
So in one jump, you can bridge 500 light years.
And if you're careful with your fuel, you can even get back again afterwards.
Oh, that's brilliant, and that's the amazing thing is it gives so many opportunities for exploration to kind of go out, but obviously as well as for helping out with combat and mining is situating yourself in these really good positions and situations to help provide for these other gameplays. It's just such a mammoth. So obviously we previously sent out a video, a trailer on fleet carriers last year, and some things over that time has changed. Obviously we had a bit more longer to kind of look at them, and we had a look and we decided that we wanted to make some changes. Can you just explain what those changes are?
We've made it more cool.
It's
more cool.
Yeah. So the original loadouts where we had things like exploration, bounty hunting, we had things that were focused around kind of the primary activities of the game, like the main sort of routes or careers that people take. And it just didn't feel quite as good as we thought it should do. So we looked at that again and we realized that the answer is to make it up to the player. So as the owner of a fleet carrier, if I want to go bounty hunting, great, fit my carrier for bounty hunting. If I want to go out long range exploring, great, add a bunch of stuff to your fleet carrier that allows you to go exploring like you've never been able to do before. you can do a whole bunch of stuff with this. I'm looking forward to seeing what people do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's really interesting is that we're going to go through this content review live stream and we're going to show off some of those kind of key features as that goes. But don't worry, there's a lot of information to go through for these fleet carriers, so we're going to try and show off as much as we can. But we will also be having a content review recap over in the forums later on after this stream, which we'll throw the link in for when that goes live. So before that, we will start going through and go looking at some of the key features, and we'll kind of discuss and go through that.
Yeah,
But as a forewarning, this is a hot build, so we were able to get some images and videos to kind of show off. Some numbers and text might be subject to change, so please be aware that that might come as time goes on. Because as we said, we do plan on also providing 2 betas for this update, which we'll go into more detail towards the end of the video. So let's go in, and the first question I need to ask is, where can I buy a fleet carrier? That's one of the most important questions. Where can I get one of these?
So fleet carriers are created by Brewer Corporation. Originally, they're the manufacturer of the Coriolis starports that you've seen. They're iconic to Elite Dangerous and even previous Elite games. And Brewer Corporation are also now the creators of the fleet carrier. That fleet carriers take a lot of stuff. So you'll find these sort of manufacturing locations near the central hubs of the powers or the superpowers, and any sort of very large industrial kind of hubs. The centre of the populace of Elite Dangerous. I guess there's about 12, 13,
on
something like
order.
that. Yeah.
They're really big investments. So if you think about how big a capital ship is, the dry dock to construct it is even bigger.
Yeah.
There's a reason you're paying 5 billion credits for this.
The fit out inside, the crew to run it, it's a big endeavour, so there's not that many of them.
Yeah, and we can see just above us that we have an image of a station with a carrier construction service outside. Now, obviously these things are massive. There's no way that they're getting through the mail slot to get in and out.
You can have a go.
No, so obviously they have these construction services, but we're going to try and go through and purchase one and talk about the flow and how you can get your fleet carrier to it up. But these things are to indicate where you can purchase a fleet carrier.
Yeah.
You can't necessarily interact with them, but they are absolutely stunning. We can see one up close now, right there, but they're outside these stations to let you know that there will be a fleet carrier vendor.
Yeah, essentially that's the factory.
Yes.
You don't go to the factory to buy the thing, you'll go to
Showroom.
the showroom, exactly, yeah. You go to the showroom and talk to someone who will set you up with one out from the factory.
Out from the factory. So we actually have a kind of image here which shows us where we can purchase a fleet carrier, because that's what we all want to know. So we can see here that we've got the fleet carrier vendor, so they will be in the contacts panel and the stations available, and you can go in and you can purchase a fleet carrier, and we bought one.
Yep.
Look at this.
Here it is.
So look at this, it's absolutely stunning. And as we said, these are massive ships with limitless possibilities and potential. So we wanted to make this purchase and feel really important. So you can see there's this lovely screen here which shows you the Brewer saying, on behalf of the Brewer Corporation, really making this a big deal, because to us it's a big deal. We want you guys, the commanders, to feel like it's a big deal for you too. So while
You
we've
can also
got
see
that,
where it's gone.
yes, and that's another thing. Like we said, you can see here on the Galaxy, the system map, that there is a wee icon down in the bottom, which indicates where your fleet carrier. So like you said, we're not going to get them at the factory. Where do we get them?
So fleet carriers, we'll talk about how they move at some point very soon, but primarily they'll act mostly like the megaships that you've seen in the game so far. So they'll be orbiting their own bodies. These things are enormous, and they need their own space to move around.
Yeah, and that's where we can find them. So once you purchase your fleet carrier, you then have to go towards the fleet carrier so that you can start enjoying the fruits of your labour, in a sense.
Yep.
So we jumped to our fleet carriers, and here's some shots of it. And as you can see, it is absolutely massive.
Yeah.
It's got, how many landing pads does one of these fleet carriers
2,
have?
3, 4 large.
Are you trying to count?
Over a dozen.
It's got 16 landing pads, 4 medium, 4 large, and 8 small, I believe.
Fantastic. So yeah, you can see obviously how massive these are. You can see a comparison to some of the ships that are actually docked on it from here, and that's a large landing pad that we've got on there with some medium and small to the other side. And they are absolutely massive. They've got so much potential for them in them. But let's jump into what happens when you actually land on the fleet carrier.
Yep.
Ta-da, this is the big reveal. So as you can see here, we are presented the fleet carrier service menu.
Yeah, so this is very similar to the Starport services menu, but fleet carriers, they're a different operating system.
Yeah,
So
they are
this is
their
what
own
you're
thing,
connected
so
to
it's
now.
a new screen.
Yep.
Yeah, so as you can see here, you've got the fleet carrier service menu. You've then got something similar to the right of it. Like we said, there's a lot of similar features. So we've got like the crew lounge in there. We've got the livery down to the bottom right with different things. But there seem to be some of them greyed out, some of the options greyed out, and some of them highlighted. And why is that?
So when you first get your fleet carrier, it's got the basics. It doesn't have all of the optional extras because there's a cost associated with buying all the optional extras. You'll get the basics and you'll be able to use that however you see fit. So initially you've got you know some of the basics at your crew lounge, like you said, but you've also got a commodities market, a tritium depot, and carrier management.
In carrier management. But this tritium depot, what is that? What is this? This is the first time we've ever seen this thing called tritium. What is it? What is tritium?
Tritium is the fleet carrier fuel. It's the fuel that has powered megaships and the Imperial and Federal capital ships for some time, and now we're making that kind of up front and centre, something that you can interact with and something that you can use to power your own fleet carriers and other players' fleet carriers as well.
Fantastic. So yeah, this is the new fuel, and you can get that through different ways to collect that stuff as well.
Yeah, there's a few places that'll be able to create their own tritium, but the main place you'll be able to get them is from icy asteroids.
Icy asteroids.
Yeah, normally you've got them from surface and subsurface deposits.
Fantastic. So there's a way, this is how you can jump in and actually move the fleet carrier around, which is fantastic. And the other thing that we discussed, so with the fleet carrier services, there's a bunch of them that we don't have available for us yet. So we end up with the standard services with our fleet carrier, and then that's when the individual's element comes into it. That's when we can start actually making the fleet carrier and making it our own and have that really interesting customization through that. So I think what we're going to do is have a look into the fleet carrier management service. So as we saw earlier, there was an option from that at the bottom right, and we now have the fleet carrier management service part. I kind of lost my voice there. It's just there's so much to look at. Once you first look at that, you can see all the information that's here. However, just it's important to know that will everybody see this kind of version of it?
So everyone can see some version of this, but this is with all the options down the left that you can see there. This is for you as the owner of the carrier. This is unique and special to you. You'll get a slightly cut down version of this if you're just a visitor at the carrier.
Visitor at the carrier, which is fantastic. So we can see that there's a bunch of different options, and there's a few that are greyed out, but we'll carry on to that. So the first thing that we really want to look at is the summary, as it's the first tab there. We'll start going through that. So could you tell us a wee bit about what this summary is and what does it explain?
So you can see a little bit of what we already talked about. You've got the available services, and you've got you've got some relationships with the local faction or the local superpower rather. You've also got the ability to see whether you're currently able to make the changes we were talking about earlier to the way your carrier is fitted. But probably the biggest thing on that screen that people are going to be asking about is 25,000 units.
What is 25,000 units? That's exactly what I was thinking, look.
25,000 units is a lot.
Just how big is your fleet carrier?
Yeah, it's inside that. There's space for 25,000 stuff.
So as we stated earlier, this vessel is used for moving around the galaxy, but it's to have things in it like different services, to have some ships in it, to have some modules in it, to have different stuff in it, and this helps you manage the capacity of what you can fit and how you can fit it around.
So currently you've got nothing. You've got a grey bar across the top that shows you what you've used out of your current capacity, and you've got a breakdown of how that's used underneath. Currently that's a bit boring because you haven't got anything.
Well, you try to say that my fleet carrier is boring?
For now.
For now, we're going to go through and make sure that we're able to show everything else.
It's pretty cool, but I think we can do better.
We can do better, definitely. And the other thing that you said that was quite interesting there was this kind of superpower reputation that we're having with them. Obviously, that can be affected by certain things.
Yeah, if you're using your carrier, or rather, if you're enabling your carrier to facilitate things that the locals don't like, then if you get detected in that area, if players around your carrier are detected doing things that are bad, your local superpower is going to tell the local faction to send more security. That's essentially what that tells you.
And that's a good indicator, so you know if you're in the good books or in the bad books.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've currently got the Empire who are pretty happy with you being there. They'll
Yeah.
send a minimal level of patrols.
To make sure
that can go worse.
Yes.
That's if you get caught, though.
That's only if you get caught.
That's only if you get caught. So the next thing, which is really important, is probably one of the most important things on this this tab, is the navigation. So we can see that right now, the current system that we're in, we can see how much fuel that we've got,
Yep.
and we can see how far the jump capacity is. Now this navigation panel is really important because this is how we move, isn't
Yeah,
it?
this is how you issue orders to your bridge crew for jumping your carrier to other locations in the game, either an
exactly.
entire star system or a body within the star system.
Yeah, so you can either select the star system. So what you'll do is you open the galaxy map, select a nearby location. Well, I say nearby, anywhere within about 500 light years, apparently.
It's not that nearby.
Yeah.
You
And
select
that's
a
if you can
location.
jump to it.
Exactly. You select the location, and then your bridge crew will take care of the rest for you. But if you already know about certain places in that star system, so for example, the third body along has the icy asteroids, and you want to do a refuel, you could select that location. You'll be able to park there as well, which is the magic that Dav has been working on.
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting. Like you said, you've just mentioned bridge crew, and we will go into that a wee bit further down. That these are really interesting points that you're going to be having crew, and you're going to have to run this crew and manage the crew because you own the fleet carrier, but the carrier kind of runs itself with
Yes.
your management.
Absolutely.
in a sense.
It is
Yeah.
its own corporation.
Yeah, these things are, even if you're not online, these things are still there. They're still doing what you've told them to do. So they need a crew to manage them.
Fantastic. So that's really important because if you have all these different facilities and crew, you're going to have to pay them. I assume they're not just going to do it out of the goodness of their heart.
No.
Not for long.
Not for long, anyway. Not for long, anyway. So that's actually brings us as a good segue into the next point, the budget. So this is the budget screen because, like we said, there's a high cost to buying fleet carriers, but you not only have high cost, there will be running costs.
Yeah, this is the top end, so there's a lot of costs involved. But for the players that are going to enjoy fleet carriers, this is pretty much in their ballpark.
This is it.
Yeah, this is about what they could.
Yeah.
This is their level of finances.
Yeah. We've run the numbers.
We've run the numbers. They've worked. So can you give us a wee breakdown of what is available on this budget screen?
So at the top you've got your carrier balance, which is pretty important. The carrier has its own separate wallet, I guess. It's got its own balance that is completely separate from your balance, but you can transfer with the button at the bottom that says deposit and withdraw. You can move funds between your carrier or your bank balance and the carrier's bank balance, and if your carrier is doing pretty well financially, back again as well.
So fantastic.
if
So
you
I
can turn
can
a profit,
I can take funds out of the bank and go off somewhere else, buy
Yeah.
something and come back and deposit it back in.
yep,
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
yeah. This is a great place to store all your stuff.
Yeah, and we can see also they've got like this weekly upkeep as well. Oh, where they're depositing, so
Yep.
this is that. Yeah, this is like we were saying. We can deposit the money and then we can take the money back out.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and we can see they've got this weekly cost. So obviously we're going to start going into that shortly. We're going to start discussing the different things that we can provide.
Yeah.
But there is an upkeep to these categories.
Yeah, there's the services that you install and the people who manage the services. They take a salary.
Yeah.
And you pay for them, and they'll do exactly what you want them to do.
You look after them and they'll look after you.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly. And then this really interesting bit at the bottom, as people can see, is the tariff. What is
Tariff.
What is the tariff? Please explain this tariff to me.
It's your profit margin.
It's your profit margin.
You look straight at Dav.
Yeah, no,
What's the
Dav's,
numbers?
Dav's really good at this formula stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So when you've equipped a service or installed a facility into your fleet carrier, by default it has a stock price. So, for example, when you've refueled your Sidewinder at the nearby Coriolis, you know how much money you spent on fuel. If you were to equip a service at your carrier that spends on fuel, then it costs the same amount of money to provide that service. However, there's nothing really in it for the fleet carrier's owner at that point, so they can impose a tariff. So, for example, if you set the tariff to 15% and you use one of the service costs what it would normally cost, and then 15% on top of that, which is charged to the commander doing the shopping, goes directly into the carrier's balance. And that's where the profit margin comes from, which is essentially the start of the return on investment for the owner of the carrier.
Yeah.
That's where the profit margin comes in. This is where you get something to withdraw at the end of the week.
Yeah, so if you want to head out to the other end of the galaxy and provide a service that players on the other end of the galaxy might really, really want. Repair, good one. You can charge a premium for that service. You can exploit the fact that no one else can repair at that location in the galaxy, and capitalism.
So I could be really sneaky and kind of take my fleet carrier out and go, okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to up the charge, and I'm going to make sure that you guys have to pay me more than the odds if you want to survive out here. Or you can go a different fleet carrier, but since you're here,
yeah. You
amazing.
can risk it, or you can pay me extra.
Or I could just give you the standard price if I wanted.
Yeah, if you were feeling benevolent.
Absolutely.
If I felt that way, if I was like, I like these guys, I'll do that.
Yep.
I'd do that for you guys. And the other really interesting thing here is, like we've said, this is a bank balance, and there's a lot of funds coming in and out and going stuff like that. What happens if I run out of money? I'm not very good with money, so I'm concerned. Obviously, it's a massive management service. There's a lot to it to keep on top of, and to make sure that things are working. And like we said, a lot of our commanders will have the funds to equip this stuff. But what happens if I'm a commander? I've got the 5 billion. I've not got too much money. I spend a lot. What will happen then? What will happen to my fleet carrier?
So some transactions will work and some will not.
Yeah, if you don't have any funds in your carrier's bank, or enough funds in your carrier's bank, certain things will just not work. You can't afford those things to happen. You can't make new purchases for new commodities that you were trying to buy or anything like that, which we'll go into in a little bit. And if you can't maintain the weekly cost, at some point you'll go into debt, which you'll then have to pay off.
But I can pay it off.
You can absolutely pay it off, yeah.
Fantastic.
We'll go into a little bit more about how that
affects things later on.
It's complicated, but it's very fair.
And that's what's really interesting about these fleet carriers is when we were putting this all together to present it to everybody, so many things touch on so many other things. It's hard to do a breakdown that is just so linear because your costs go to your crew, crew go to the services, and the commodity markets have impacts. It's so vast.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
It's incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
But, it's complicated to actually explain, but when you actually start using it,
It does just work. We've tried our best to integrate it into the gameplay mechanics that you've been flying around for as long as you've been playing the game.
Yeah. And again, with all the information that we're providing you today, we will give you some more information over in our content review post, where we'll go into more depth of these informations and answer your questions after the stream. But let's continue on. So that's we've got the budget. We're making money now. We've got fleet carrier stuff, and I've put all my funds in. There's some other services that we can show off, and I think the next one is commodity trading.
yeah. So if we continue down the list, the next one of the sort of the core services, the things that are fundamental to your carrier and they're always available, is the commodity trading facility. This is good because this is something that we've never done before in the game.
This is a little new, a little bit different.
This allows you to request at your fleet carrier a certain commodity. So if I wanted to say, I want to get 2 gold, I can say, I'll buy 2 gold at this price. And NPCs don't do that. Other players fulfill that order.
Yeah.
That's player-to-player trading.
That's player-to-player trading. You heard it here first, player-to-player trading.
Absolutely. So the way that the fleet carrier commodity market works is a little bit different to some of the faction-based NPC markets you've been using in the game. So the owner of the carrier now sets purchase orders. So for example, they might say, I wish to buy 2 units of gold and I wish to offer, say, X hundred credits for it. As soon as you issue that purchase order, we will reserve that amount of capacity in your cargo and this amount worth of credits from your balance to cover that purchase order. Likewise, if you have a surplus of commodities within the carrier, you can list them for sale at a price you set. The one thing that carriers don't support is the idea of a dumping price. So one of the things that the economy-based markets give us is the ability for commanders to sell anything for a small amount of the true worth of the commodity. But fleet carriers don't support that because it's not really within the control of the owner. They don't know how much space it would take up or how much credits it would take up. So this is absolute explicit control.
Yeah, amazing, and you can see that with the commodity trading. There's a lot of information that we can provide for them there. Different, you can see the total inventory, the amount that you've got as well, and like we said, we can put up. Earlier on we had liquid oxygen there that I put on there, so we can have a look a wee bit later on of what that will look like. When we go back into that. But the next thing, we've been talking a lot about crew services and these different facilities that we've got here, and I believe that there is a section where we can manage all that.
Yes, so This is where you hire new crew and fit new services, essentially. So anything that you wanted to do with your fleet carrier that you might have seen on the starport menu, the items that were greyed out, this is where you would add and fit those services and enable your carrier to support those things.
And what we'll do is obviously with this to show you it all, we'll go through and we'll purchase everything. We'll give you a kind of brief look into it. But obviously, when we said earlier, the 25,000 units of capacity that we have for the ship, it's important to remember buying everything all at once might not work out as well. So you can see that we've got the 3 standard ones there, but these we're going to also just quickly purchase all the additional ones to have a look for that and then go through them. So you can see that there's a cost here, there's an installation cost. We've used an example of a refuel station because I believe that you can get different services through that. So you've got the refuel station, the repair crew.
Yeah, you've got the refuel. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
There's a whole amazing things there.
Basically, things that you can think of doing at the normal starport are now available for you in a sort of completely player-controlled way to do at your fleet carrier. Yeah. They won't really replace starports, but they allow you to do very specialist things and do them how you want to do them.
Yes. Yeah, and we've got, so we said, we've got refuel station, repair crews, the armoury. We've got a redemption officer, which is a new thing as well.
Yeah,
shipyards,
brand new.
Brand new, outfitting and secure warehouse, and we'll go through this all. But the thing with these services, I've said, there's a weekly running cost. What happens if I'm not using a facility enough, or if I decide that for a time being I'm going to be doing a couple of jumps, I don't want to use this facility anymore? Is there a way to stop these or get rid of them entirely?
Yeah, so the carrier administration service, which we talked about earlier, which is, it's not a carrier service per se, it's a service granted by starports to fleet carriers that are nearby within the same star system, allow you to purchase the new facilities, but they also allow you to return those facilities. So if you bought a shipyard, for example, you could take it back to that location and get rid of your shipyard, and the crew would return with it as well. They'll find something else to work on and go about their business. But if you don't want to get rid of a service entirely, you've also got the option to allow the crew who are manning that service to just kind of chillax for a bit.
Chillax.
Yeah,
I like the term.
Chillax.
Cool.
So you can suspend the service. So, for example, if you're doing a long-range journey, your carrier has been fitted exactly the way you want it, but you want it to go 1,000 light years that way. You probably don't want to run the services for the entire time that you're jumping. You're just sort of moving the carrier at this time. So you can go through and suspend all the services and lower the running costs, because they take a much reduced wage when they're not active.
They're not active because you want to keep them on board, but
yes.
Just for now, please stay. Use a bit of money to do that stuff. Interesting. So because we've just went through and we bought all those services and added to them, we're going to show off some of the additional services that you can purchase and use in your fleet carrier. And I think the first one that we've got is secure trading.
Oh,
so
yeah.
this is another interesting one as well, because it looks quite similar to the commodities market. But what's the difference?
A secure warehouse. This is a little bit new again.
Yeah. So the secure warehouse.
Are we bringing more new stuff?
Yeah, more new stuff.
Yeah.
More, why not? Just add more. So the secure warehouse is almost a one-to-one copy of the commodities market, but with a really important caveat. If you have a stolen good and you want to get rid of that stolen good, you can either go to a starport, you can ferry it the whole way to a starport, sneak it past the system authorities and sell it at the black market. Alternatively, if you don't want to do that, you could also give it to someone who owns a fleet carrier. So you can head to a fleet carrier that has a secure trading, and if they want that good that you've got, then you can sell it there, and they'll store it away from prying eyes.
And they'll give you the credits for it. This
This
is buying and selling stolen commodities.
Yep.
That
Doesn't matter where you got it. If it's stolen, you can sell it and buy it here.
So this is not only the opportunity to, like a lot of people who are, wanting to be the good guy out in the galaxy and have an honour of code, there's also really room and availability for people who want to be a wee bit sneaky.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's worth saying this is not illegal commodities, because the fleet carrier doesn't have the concept of jurisdiction, because you own the fleet carrier.
So it's your representation.
Exactly. So legality isn't an issue, but stolen and ownership very much is.
Yeah. So again, this is another way that we're showing the fleet carriers our representation of what you want to do with it. How a commander who owns a fleet carrier, it's your carrier.
Yeah, so if you and a group of friends want to go stealing, why would you want to do that? That's terrible. How
thieving.
horrible.
Yes.
But if you did, then you could head across the galaxy, steal a bunch of stuff from some people who weren't expecting it,
Yep.
ship it onto the carrier, bring the carrier back, park it nearish to a starport, and then you can do your little smuggling run from there back to the starport.
You know, just like casual.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Exactly. So that's another amazing feature that we brought, but we're also, one of the things that we saw at the start was a greyed out shipyard.
Yeah.
So we're also having the ability to buy stocks of ships, which we can then offer, is that correct?
You can indeed, yeah.
Yeah, so
this is your capacity starts to go away very quickly. The 25,000 might have sounded quite a lot.
But Type 9s are big. They don't flat pack that well.
there's no IKEA option on the Type 9.
Assemble your own Type 9.
Man, that would take a lot. The person that throws out the instructions would be regretting that.
No spanners included.
So yeah, we've got the shipyard stock,
Mm-hmm.
which you can purchase different kind of versions of ships, is that correct?
It's the same versions of the starships that you'll have seen across the galaxy so far, but
Yep.
this is a limited stock that the owner of the fleet carrier can purchase for sale from their shipyard, again subject to the same tariff that you'll have set earlier on.
Yeah. So if you want to, stock some trading ships for your mates, and you're going to go and sell some trading ships in a location that might be convenient for people who otherwise wouldn't have access to a shipyard in that area, you can hike up the price to make it worth your while to do that.
Yeah, and the only way you can make this available is by having this service.
Yes.
So if you want to have like certain ships, like if you were into say for instance racing, and you found that there was the pack with the stock that has the Mamba in it,
Mhm.
you could then use that. You could then make sure that you've got the Mamba for people to go out racing if they want to purchase one.
Yep,
out in a certain space.
absolutely.
Amazing. And on with that as well, to keep that momentum up,
Mhm.
we've also got outfitting stock.
Yes.
So-
yeah, you can have an outfitting service that you can stock in basically the same way. Now there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of modules.
There's a lot.
So you don't get to select the individual modules, but you do get to select these sort of the type of modules that you want your crew to be stocking for you. So there's quite a long breakdown of the various different types of,
Yes.
of modules you can fit into your carrier.
It's,
Yeah.
it's by theme and by quality as well.
Yeah, so as you can see across the top, this one kind of says tier 3 out of 3. So of that pack, this is the highest quality and the largest amount, which means that you can customize your stuff. Either you can sell stuff to newer players and hang around sort of the newer areas of the galaxy, or you can go a long distance and take the really expensive stuff.
Brilliant. And we're going to show with both the outfitting and the shipyard, we're going to show
Yep.
later how you can access that
Yes,
from
yeah.
the camera. But you can see here we purchased the top tier one, so we can have a wee look at that as well. And the next thing that we can do, this is just like most ships, we also have a livery, I believe. We do.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Making your carrier your own.
Yep. I mean, these things are so customizable on the inside. It makes sense to customize the outside as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that was bad.
That was
timing.
apparently as I took a wee sip of water there. No,
Absolutely.
of course. And like we said, we've got a lot of different options within the livery, just like you would with your standard ships. We've got different paint jobs.
Mm-hmm.
We've got obviously some layouts that we can choose from. You can change like the engine colours and things like that, which is really cool. And you can go on and you can put it to your own so that you can match your own preference, or
Yep.
if your squadron had a certain colour or anything like that. So you can
Yeah.
do the same customisation that we've made available for ships, but just on a larger scale.
Yes, I mean,
yeah.
not every paint job would fit a fleet carrier.
No, they've got their own set.
They've got their own set ones, yeah. And next, probably one of the most important ones here as well. I always feel that there's such amazing things that you can do around fleet carriers by getting these services in, but it's really important for the amount of control that we give the players for that.
Mhm.
And the next version that we have is the settings.
Yes.
So can you explain what the settings of your fleet carrier provide?
So the main things are you can control the docking access that the air traffic controller will, the sort of people you want to be docking at your fleet carrier. So the same way you request docking at a starport,
Mhm.
you have to contact someone who will tell you your landing pad and whether or not you're allowed to dock.
That's right.
You get to control exactly what exactly the sort of player that you want docking on your carrier. So if you only want your friends to turn up and you don't want anyone else to use your carrier, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can do that. If you want your squadron to turn up, that's fine. If you want your squadron and not your friends to turn up, weird, but yeah, you can do that.
You don't like your friends, but you like your squadron.
Absolutely. But likewise, if you're one of our many players who prefers to play solo online, we absolutely support that too. So you can say that nobody apart from you can dock and use your own carrier.
Yep. You can always dock at your fleet carrier. So
Yeah.
if you turn that off, no one else can
No
use
one
it.
else. I mean, sometimes
No one.
there's lots of different ways that you could use that none as well. You could be like, right, guys, I need to restock or get this stuff sorted out. I don't have
Yep.
time to deal with this. No one can stock on this for a wee time. And we were also talking about the fact that when you when you suspend a thing, if you go away on holiday,
Yep.
you wanted to suspend it and stop people jumping on it, because these are persistent in gameplay.
They are.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
they're
they don't go away.
permanent.
They don't go away, so they'll be there the whole time. So you're going to have to manage that, even if you're away on holiday. If you're jumping in to do something else, make a cup of tea, you
Yeah.
need to make sure that these are all there, and that's why crew is really important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing that affects docking control, though.
No. Next up, you've also got the
Loot.
notorious commander access.
The notorious.
Yeah. So this is very much player versus player content. So this is a way of, again, making sure that commanders who own their carriers can engage in the play styles that they wish to engage in.
Yeah. If you're into PvE and you really don't want the people who are PvPing to use your carrier to their own advantage, even if you would make a profit off them, you can set that here.
So if you just have it really grumpy and you're like, I don't want these people anymore, they play me up, they're not getting on, you could, but that's the freedom.
Yeah, it's just a straightforward piece of control.
Yep.
Letting people do what they want to do.
Exactly. Now, this is probably, I know it's not one of the biggest features of it, but it's probably one of my favourite features.
Yeah.
It's cool, right?
Is
I
the,
like
the
it.
next
Yeah.
one. It's basically, you can assign at the start, you saw from the Fleet Carrier Service menu, you actually saw that there was, top left of the UI, you can see that there was a kind of a banner.
So it was a big backdrop.
Yeah, there's a big backdrop there. It was a nice banner. You can actually customize it. So obviously, since I went through and I collected some of these shots, I have customized it, and you'll see what I customized it to later. But there's a whole variety of different ones here. Everybody could probably guess what I chose,
Yeah.
but you can see that there's a lot of different ones here: trading, mining,
Yeah.
piracy, everything.
Absolutely. So this is the list of player activity types that we introduced in one of the updates, and this is the way of players advertising the theme of their carrier. Because you've got so many different customization options, this is your chance to use one of the game's existing labels for that, and it appears in the left-hand nav panel as well as on the Fleet Carrier Services menu.
Yeah. So if you're heading towards a carrier, you target that carrier, you look at the navigation panel, and you see a list of activities at the bottom. That's basically telling you what the player wants to tell you at that point. That's
Exactly.
your advert.
So everyone can kind of see what's going on when you're jumping in them. Fantastic. And then I think the last option that we have is very important. This is called decommissioning a fleet carrier. What does decommissioning a fleet carrier mean?
So this is.
This is where one of the moving parts comes in.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a fleet carrier, but there's a lot of stuff that other people can do with your fleet carrier if you let them. Other people can park their modules on it. You can store ships and you can store modules freely if it's a shipyard and the outfitting services are enabled. You can, as the owner of the fleet carrier, you can store a whole bunch of commodities on it, and you'll have got all of your services and all of the stock for those services fitted into the fleet carrier as well. But should that become a little bit too much, or let's say you're going on holiday for 4 weeks and you don't want to have to deal with this, that's fine. Hit the decommission button. We'll give you a little time to make sure that that's exactly what you want to do, because it's a big investment, and you're only getting a portion of the investment back when you decommission the carrier. This is your option to do that.
Mm-hmm.
A week out, I think it's a week, and the next sort of weekly update, the server maintenance, when that happens, we'll take away your fleet carrier for you,
Yeah.
and it'll become basically like an immobile fleet carrier that players can pull their stuff off for free.
Yeah, so it still exists in the game, but you can't dock at it. But if you dock at another market that has a shipyard or a module storage, you can transfer your property away from that
Yep.
whilst it's in the decommissioned state.
Which is really important, because one of the biggest fears is obviously these things going out for such a distance,
Yeah.
and you losing any of your ships or anything that you've
Yeah.
stored there.
Yeah.
And the really important thing is that you can still get that back. You guys have made it so that that fear is gone. People
Yeah,
can
exactly.
don't worry if somebody's getting their fleet carrier decommissioned. And again, if you feel the pressure of a fleet carrier is too much, if you want to change things up a wee bit, you can always try and pat the parcel and get some of your friends to use their money. Get them to pay for it.
Exactly so. And at the end of the decommissioning phase, whilst the owner of the carrier will get a decommissioned value back based on the salvage condition of your carrier and all of the items in it, other players' property does not get deleted. It gets transferred to a place of safety.
Exactly. No, I think that's really important, which is amazing. So now that we've went through the whole carrier service bit, we want to see what effect this has actually on our fleet carrier, and what has changed from the beginning, because
Yep.
now we have unlocked everything. We've just through a kind of wee bit of, we've bought a couple of commodities, we've bought a ship pack, we've bought a modules, all the storage stuff, we've bought them in, and we're going to go and see what that kind of looks like
We have.
actually on screen.
Before we move away, though, it's worth noting that because there's an awful lot of information here, we have spent some time writing this out inside the player's handbook.
Oh yes, that's so important. That's
Yeah.
extremely important. I
It's-
almost jumped away from that there.
We're skipping over a lot of stuff here.
Yes.
We're only briefly touching on a whole
Yeah.
bunch of stuff, and yet we're still going to do a whole hour on this.
Yeah. So for those of you who are watching in-game, you can read it in-game.
Exactly. You can find all this information in the pilot's handbook. It's filled with all of information, just like other things that we have in the game. It's all in there. And like we said, this is 1 hour that we're trying to collect all of this information, and because there's so much information on these, we do have a thread that's going to be opened up in our forums, and it's going to be filled with all that information for you. And we obviously announce that on all of our social channels, and you can go over and ask any questions. But also, towards the end, we'll have a beta, and everybody can come in and have a wee chat to that.
Yeah, a lot of this will make a lot more sense when you get your hands on it.
Yeah, and it's so much information, and this is just the tip of the iceberg
Yeah.
as it goes. So let's see if we can jump in and see the new menu. So as you can see,
Oh, congratulations, you went for bounty
I
hunting.
went for bounty hunting. Of course
What a
I went for bounty hunting.
surprise.
If any of you saw my streams, I am the best bounty hunter on the planet.
At least
the
you're on
galaxy. On this planet.
At least you're on brand.
I'm on brand here, and you can see now that there's a slight there's a difference. There is some highlight, the ones that were graded before are now highlighted, which means that we can kind of go in and use them. So things like the redemption office. Could you tell us what a redemption office is?
Yeah, that's a new thing.
It's
right?
another
So-
new thing. We just
New-
like giving you guys new things.
New for fleet carriers.
Yeah, so the interstellar factor has been around for a while, and if you know what the interstellar factor is, this will probably make a lot more sense. The redemption office allows you to hand in any vouchers, bonds, or any sort of transient labels for that you can get money out of back to this contact at your carrier, and that, yes, they take a cut. Some of that cut goes to the owner of the fleet carrier, and the rest goes to you. And you can do that anywhere in the galaxy.
So that's really important because the fleet carrier gets something out of this. This is why they might want to facilitate that. But also, it's really handy, so you're not having to jump miles away
Yes.
if you've got a bond
Exactly.
already.
You pay as from the point of view of the commander shopping at the fleet carrier. You do pay a premium for this. It is a convenience, like the interstellar factors is a convenience. You do not get full credit for your vouchers, but you have the benefit of being able to do it anywhere there is a carrier, rather than having to travel all the way back to the jurisdiction of the faction that issued the voucher.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of the big ones in the middle was this shipyard. So let's have a look. So this is the stock that we purchased previously.
Yep.
Which you can see we went for the Type 7 transport, and it's got certain options. And you said there's a limited stock.
Yes, absolutely. So this is one of the places where this is now different to the economy-driven markets around the game. So yes, this is the shipyard interface that you're familiar with from the live game at the moment. You can buy ships, but this time there is a finite number of ships. Depending on how many the owner bought, that's how many there are to purchase. For the credits value, that's the stock price that they paid for it, plus whatever tariff the owner has set. It's worth noting that when the owner is shopping at their own carrier, they do not pay a tariff to themselves. But likewise, it's a fully featured shipyard, so you can buy a ship, you can part exchange it, you can store ships, and you can transfer ships.
Amazing.
Yeah. And you don't need to micromanage any of that part exchange stuff. That's all handled automatically.
Yes, this is part of the crew that you've hired to take care of the service for you.
Those lovely crew. I love them. Love them more.
They,
every
they,
time.
they take care of all of this for you. You just click the buy button.
The buy button, and then and similarly, we've done the same for outfitting. We bought some stock of different modules that we would like to sell on our fleet carrier, and there they are. There we go out for the tier 3, and you can see the different levels that we provided there.
Yeah.
And it's quite similar to the
Exactly.
to the shipyard as well. Isn't
Same,
it?
same mechanism, same outfitting interface. You can still part exchange. You have module storage. You can sell modules and get a default if it's a core module within your ship. But the only stock that you can choose from is the finite stock purchased by the owner of the carrier.
Yep. Which would be really good for things like mining, combat, and different things to actually provide specific types of tools that you would actually want to use, which is just super handy. So you can have them and make sure that if that's the type of gameplay you want to have, and that with your friends and your squadrons and anybody in that space, you can provide it for them through this way, which
Yep.
is all accessible here. And I think the next part we have is previously in the video we had purchased certain commodities that we put high on price, we put low on price, and this is where you can then purchase it.
Exactly. This is the same commodities market from the point of view of a commander shopping at your carrier, but this time when you look at the sell list, it is only what commodities have been listed as a purchase order or a sale order by the owner of the carrier, and at the price they mentioned. So this doesn't use a tariff, this is an explicit price, and only at the quantities set as well. There is no dumping allowable. You cannot buy something that is in stock but hasn't been listed for sale.
Yeah, exactly. And the one thing that I have noticed when we're doing it is it does look a wee bit empty.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we mentioned earlier was trading.
So this is, again, more new stuff.
It does. We may have heard a requested feature from one or two commanders.
Just
here
one or
and there,
two,
yeah,
one or
saying, is there somewhere that we can store our commodities, please?
Ta-da, fleet carriers.
You can now
We've
store
got
it.
25,000 storage space, essentially.
Yeah.
If you wanted to use it just as a storage space, that's exactly what you could do.
And this is for the fleet carrier owner only. They can
Correct.
go straight, if they've landed with their ship on the fleet carrier, they can select, as you can see, I've got certain commodities that I've selected, and I can transfer them to
Yes.
and from my carrier.
Exactly.
That's
So this is
fine too.
a very similar mechanism to when you're transferring cargo between, say, your SRV and your ship. This time you're transferring it from the ship to the carrier. You can't transfer every single type of commodity. There's some that, for gameplay reasons, don't make sense to transfer. Power play is one obvious example.
Yep.
So amazing. So, and if we go back to the fleet carrier service management screen, we can see this is the commodity market where we would be able to put that stuff in. But we can see here that we have advanced maintenance. Now, previously we purchased 3 separate services.
Yep.
So you did the refuel,
The
the
refuel,
rearm,
the rearm.
the armory.
The armory and the repair.
Repair.
The repair. There was the 3 different ones. Now from that, if we can go into it, you can see that there is a new layout. Obviously we can get this in the standard services, but this is the new layout for the fleet carriers, where you can actually go in and use these facilities to repair all the certain parts and refuel and the armory for it.
Absolutely. So this is the same interface that the same set of services that you will have seen before, but with a much more visual interface. It really does show what our UI design team have been busy doing. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
this is way
nice.
better than the previous list that we had.
Yeah.
I love the extra polish that we've been able to put
It's
on the stuff.
it's similar to what we were able to do for the ship UI as well in the right-hand cockpit panel.
That's true, yep.
Yeah, so if we go back to the fleet carrier services, we can see here, these are all the different features that both the owner and the player, a guest can come on and see. Obviously, when they go into the carrier management section, the bottom right there, the guest will only see part of the time. They will only see partial parts, a summary of of everything else that's going on. But this is what will be available if you had a fleet carrier fully modded out, which would take a lot of
Yeah,
capacity.
you've gone overboard here, but it's good for demonstration.
But that's what's important, is that you can change these, you can make things unavailable, you can make them available to your preference and playstyle. But I think one of the real big concerns that I would have is that if I'm out in my ship and I'm flying about in a distant part and my fleet carrier is going somewhere else, can I manage it without actually being on board my fleet carrier?
Yeah, so at every point so far, you've been managing your carrier from being docked at the carrier itself. But obviously you don't want to be anchored to this thing. This is an enormous vessel. It has a crew on it for a reason. And the way that we've kind of solved that issue, so if you want to go on a long exploration trip, yes, you definitely want to be able to manage this thing remotely. So if you buy a carrier, in your right-hand cockpit panel, you'll get an additional button that says Carrier Management. That will take you exactly to the same screen that you would have got from the Carrier Management button on the Fleet Carrier service.
Brilliant. So we can manage it all from there. We can have the budget, the banking. We can make sure the crew's doing okay. We can
restock if you
restock
want.
if you want, if it's the right system.
If you're scouting ahead, that's where you'd issue a navigation order to come and catch you up.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And we can even plan the trip through that as well. That's amazing. So the big thing is we've went through all this different the management, and again, like we've suggested, like we've said,
Yep.
is that there's so much more to these. This is just the tip. This is just the best way that we could represent is just to kind of show them off and to kind of play about with it. But one of the things that I'm really interested to see, and I don't know if you guys are as well, is to see one of these things actually jump.
I love this.
It is good, yeah.
It is good. So I think what we're going to show you guys is this will be the first showing
Yep.
of a fleet carrier jumping from one system to another. I love how you were just waving at it as it kind of went away. Now
Bye.
that was amazing. Like the big
I
thing,
love it, yeah.
the big important thing with that as well was, like we've said earlier, we're showing you just parts of what's available here on the fleet carrier. As we said at the beginning, it takes such a toll to actually do the jump and make the jump. We've got, as it stands at the moment, an hour build up and then an hour cool down after
Yeah.
it. Now the hour build up, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more interesting audio that's going on. Like you said, the time to get people to land at their ship and actually get prepared if they want to participate in the jump. To see all that stuff, but we wanted to just show off the really cool space.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would say the best way to describe that of like
yeah.
a thunderstorm portal thing.
It's the jump sequence, but
It is a jump sequence.
in the wind up to that, you do get local announcements saying if the carrier is jumping, you may watch to stand clear, that sort of thing.
Yeah, notifications of when it's going to depart, where it's going to, that sort of stuff.
It's all in there.
It's really cool. So obviously this has been the content review for the fleet carriers, but as we've said about this a couple of times, these things are so massive. There's been so much work that everybody's put into them, put towards them, and to put into making these the best version that they can be for that. And we have touched on some of the stuff that's been happening and how you can use it, but we need you guys to come in with us to actually come towards the beta and help make these work the best way that they can be, test them all out. But before we kind of go into that detail, I would like to thank both of you guys for joining us today. You've been fantastic. We have Luke Betterton and Dav Stott who have came in to give us the kind of first deep dive look into the fleet carriers and to kind of go through it. And thank you so much, guys, for coming down.
You're
It's
very
okay.
welcome.
I'm really excited to see what everybody does with these.
Oh, it's going to be good.
There's so many new things you can do.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, so as I said just there, that we are going to be having 2 betas this year. Obviously last year we announced that we were going to try and have betas for all of our updates coming out, and this time for fleet carriers we're going to have 2. The first one will begin in April, and it will be for PC only, and then some time after that we're then going to be bringing out a second beta that will be for PC, PS4 and Xbox players. So we really need you guys to jump in. If you can't afford a fleet carrier, don't worry about it. We also need people to come in, test the game, and also test to be as guests on fleet carriers. It's just as important. We can't wait to see what you do, and this will help us massively. So also on that, because there's so much information, we will have a forum posted on our forums, and we'll have social media to go out to give you some links to that, so that any questions that you have, you can go over there. But I think that's us for the first look at fleet carriers. We've got these betas coming up, obviously with the release coming out. We are so excited. All the information will be there. We're really looking forward to see what you do with them. And I think that's us for here, us at the studio.
Absolutely.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for watching. All the best, and I can't wait to see what you do with the fleet carriers. 07 Commanders.
We'll see you in the black.
Wow, what an amazing stream. Thank you so much for tuning in and sticking with us. If you want any more information, then you can head over to our forums where we'll be posting a full recap of the entire show. But before you go, why don't you stick around and check out a very special video that will get you prepped for the beta, which will be taking place next week on April the 7th. I hope you enjoy. Stay safe, Commanders.